We are at session one of a new campaign, kind of, or second half of campaign one. Anyway, um, so to do a little stage setting before I get into some stuff, because there's going to be a little bit of me talking at you to get this whole thing launched. But you guys have been in Baldur's Gate for a bit since coming back or getting teleported back from Chult, basically after leaving the tomb. Um, Actually, I don't remember how you guys got back, if you sailed back or if you teleported back. But however you got back to Baldur's Gate, uh, I think I've talked a little bit, Teresa, about what you had been doing with your family and with your studies. Gibbles, Owen, you're from Waterdeep, but you guys have been in Baldur's Gate for about a month or two, just kind of getting back into civilization. Is there anything in particular you would have been doing in that time?
Um, well, since it's been, what's the time frame? It's been like 100 years,
Yeah,
200 years.
you have been gone for at least a century.
Yeah, I've probably just been trying to see if like old contacts are around, or if like just I'm just trying to get my bearings, I guess.
Yeah, so without going too deep into a lore, there's a whole bunch of weird stuff, and people keep talking about this spell plague thingy that happened uh, probably right after you left. Um, it means nothing to you, but apparently it was a huge deal. Um,
Okay.
the spell plague being magic stopped working for a while, and like parts of the planet disappeared and reappeared and moved all around. And then it all basically kind of ended. Um, and it also, I think the only big difference is it also marked a point in time when the gods kind of stepped back a bit from the world. I think you would have been around in the time of troubles, but it doesn't matter. I don't think much of this is going to be relevant, but basically you missed like a huge worldwide event while you were gone. But outside of that, um, not too much not too much has changed. Like you're kind of surprised at how little has changed in 100 years. Um, from like, there's been no great technological advancements, really. Uh, so like things are kind of the same as they were, but just as you try to find contacts and figure things out, you probably had some moderate knowledge of Baldur's Gate, but being from Waterdeep and being a smaller family, there you haven't really been able to find much in Baldur's Gate. Um, like none of the old import export businesses seem to be there anymore. But also given the time, that's not that bizarre. Um, so I think that's kind of what you figure out while you're doing stuff. Um, and then Lally, it's Lally Goodfollow, right? I've got that right. Yeah, Lally
Yeah,
Goodfollow.
Lolly Goodfollow.
Lally Goodfollow. Okay. Um, so I think the thing I had talked about, and for all of you, um, so yeah, you guys returned about 3 months ago. At this point where I'm gonna pick the plot up. Liz, I'm gonna kind of ignore your character for a minute because you're up in Waterdeep.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of bring you in a bit. Um, but so basically 3 months ago, after coming back from Chult, where you had been gone for almost half a year, tracking down and defeating the Soulmonger and a Sirak, uh, you come back, and since your return, since people have identified you, uh, your life has actually been pretty nice in Baldur's Gate. It's kind of been a series of invitations to dinner parties, temples, mead halls, and other civic events where nobles and commoners alike have been celebrating uh, your achievement in returning normalcy to the world by stopping the death curse. So it's kind of just been a nice, kind of blissful period where you haven't really had to worry about, where to stay or what to do because people are just ready to help you out because you guys are the returning heroes of Chult. Um, the patron who hired you way back at the beginning of this whole thing, Syndra Sylvain, She passed away while you guys were gone. She succumbed to the death curse. But she left in her will a stipulation that if anybody returned successful from Chult in defeating the death curse, they would find a reward in the city of Waterdeep. And you have also been contacted by Volo of Volo's Guide and all of his various publications, who some of you met at the very beginning of the last campaign, inviting you to come to Waterdeep. He has basically been given the role of fulfilling this bequest from Syndra Sylvain. So he's sent you notice that if you can make your way to Waterdeep, he definitely has something for you there. And you've also, I would say, like Teresa and Gibbles, you and the rest of the prior party, so Yaza, Sebastian, and Kellic, if they're for those who are still around. The group of you also received an invitation from Larell Silverhand, who is the open lord of Waterdeep, the ruler of the city. She's requested about a month from now your presence for a public ceremony to welcome you back to the Sword Coast and honor your service to her city and the Lord's Alliance. So at this point, you're likely making preparations to travel to Waterdeep. The Lord of Waterdeep has basically said once you charter a ship, she will make sure everything is handled financially. But there have also, each of you has either been contacted either via post or via chance meetings in the time that has been elapsing. So Monsieur Gibbles, you've returned nearly a century after you left Waterdeep on your scheme to find treasure and gold to help vault your family into a higher tier of Waterdavian life. Sometime after your return, you received a letter from Elodie Marchant, who is apparently your grandniece, and her letter read, "The whole family is happy to hear you weren't killed off all those years ago, and you're even a hero now. You'll find that things have changed since you last saw the business around here. Father told me to tell you that the old shop and warehouse are gone. We've got a simple business in the docks called Shipper's Storage down off Net Street in the Dock Ward. We'd sure be happy to welcome you back, even if it's a meager welcome. Come find us if you'd like to see the family. There's always someone at the warehouse, and we can catch you up on what we Marchands have fared, or how we have fared since you left." So you've gotten that letter from. Apparently, this is again from Elodie Marchant, who is says she's your grandniece, and you don't have any reason to disbelieve her. Segueing from that, Lolly, you, a retired investigator in Baldur's Gate, during one of the banquets at one of the city watch posts held in honor of these returning heroes, you and Gibbles got into your cups and struck up a bit of a friendship. And while you've always loved Baldur's Gate, in retirement you found yourself having a hard time walking the streets without reaching for your notepad anytime you get suspicious. You have some contacts in Waterdeep from some old smuggling and slavery cases, and you've had a desire to see Waterdeep as a citizen instead of as an investigator for the Watch. So you've decided to travel with the group to see the city of Waterdeep with fresh eyes and check in on Seth and Barnabas, two of the veteran watchmen who you have worked some cases with in the past. You're not sure exactly what they're up to right now, but you're sure they're still alive, and they may or may not still be actively serving in the City Watch. And then Liz, the piece I have for you is that usually your life keeps you out of Waterdeep proper. Since the end of the death curse, things have mostly returned to normal as you help tend the City of the Dead and the wilder areas around the city, offering your services as you need or as you can. Funerals have certainly gotten a bit less grim now that souls are going to the proper afterlife. They've returned to their correct kind of moment of marking a phase of life or a passing. But you have noticed that the dead seem a bit restless in the last month. There have been surprising cases of, now that people are no longer dying and their souls are getting sucked away, it seems some of the dead are more restless than usual. You did in the past have some business working with Xanthiel, which is Lyokin's character. And you've heard that Xanthiel will be coming to the city as part of some grand ceremony that Open Lord Silverhand is planning, and you've made some plans to try and see if Xanthiel and in some of her with her clerical knowledge has any ideas if there's any lingering effects of the death curse that she may have observed that might be explaining some of the restless undead that you are seeing around the city. And then I think the last person we have here, Teresa, yours is a little shorter because we've talked about it a bit. But as a newly appreciated member of the Porterhouse, you've been given a few tasks by your aunt. This trip to Waterdeep for you may prove quite beneficial, both personally and for your familial goals and obligations. And I'll let you share what you do or don't want to share about those as it comes up.
Of course.
So with that said, does anybody want to do anything in Baldur's Gate before you embark on your trip to Waterdeep?
Now, I know that I talked about this a bit, but I keep forgetting about it. I still have that list of spells and the spell books that I got from Assyric.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just wanted to ask about that.
I don't have them written down. I will try to get that before next session. I don't
Okay,
think.
because I at least have the 3 that she posted. If you scroll up on the Thursday team chat a little bit, I did repost it.
Cool. Yeah, I just have
So
to look
if
at
I can
the.
just put those in my spell book and assume it's been in the 3 months, at least I have those.
Yeah, most likely. I don't see a problem there because you can still only prepare however many, so that's fine.
Okay.
You can learn as many as you want, but you can only prepare so many a day.
Yep.
So anybody else want to do anything before you head out from Waterdeep?
I'm going to introduce myself to everybody and very heartily shake everyone's hands and like let everyone know like how excited I am to be able to travel to Waterdeep with them. And I am this is going to be such a great adventure for all of us. And man, I just cannot wait to get to it. Oh man, this is going to be a good time. And man, I cannot wait to see what lies ahead of us. And yeah, obnoxiously excited.
Teresa just gives a blank look, and then she smiles and holds out her hand. Of course, of course. Welcome to this endeavor. I hope
Eagerly
that
takes
you.
Teresa's hand, shakes it really heartily, and goes, "Oh wow,
Oh,
I'm so glad that we got to go on this trip together." And what are those really cool? Like those are some really old books. It looks like yeah. There. What do you got over there? Wow, this. You seem like you read a lot.
yes, I do. But what I meant to say was that I do hope that you are a good addition to this team. A very useful addition to this team.
We'll have to see what comes up, but I certainly can hold my own on the usefulness track. I don't see any issue with that. We'll be finding some cool things around the city, I'm sure, and be able to go on some really interesting adventures and meet some really nice people, and we'll get to talk to all sorts of new, interesting folks. And man, I'm really looking forward to this.
Have you broken your word count from the prior campaign?
I think so, probably.
Uh, Interestingly, I think as a former watch member, Lolly, you're probably aware of Teresa, at least in the sense that she's a member of the Porterhouse, but with her father being the Lord of Baldur's Gate, or at least was until very recently. So you would recognize Teresa. Teresa, I have no idea if you would recognize a normal or a watch investigator.
Well, the other thing is that Lolly would just not be like impressed with any kind of like rank or like he's not really interested in social status. He's really more just interested in like meeting new people and like finding new things.
Yeah.
Also, just so everyone knows, I am a tiefling that kind of looks a little scary, and I'm overly friendly to make up for that because the natural reaction of a lot of people when they see a tiefling is that, oh well, like demon spawn, oh they must be up to no good, and he is like obnoxiously nice to overdo that to make that go away.
Uh, so as you guys are having this interaction and getting on the boat, very stereotypical ship's captain comes down from the bow and comes to speak to the group of you. I'm going to say for plot purposes, that'll be relevant a little bit later. The former party members are here as well. So it's kind of the people who are going to be phasing out of the story are coming on this trip just to at least come to this ceremony. So we've got Sebastian here, we've got Kellic here. I think Yaza would be here unless Yaza would have completely booked out. It's up to you guys, I guess, but I'm assuming they're here unless you want me to completely get rid of them.
Dude, I'm just imagining Lolly meeting Kellic. I'd be gold.
It's like the immovable.
Lolly would just stand there like with his hand out expectantly while Kellic stands there and bird blinks back at him for like 10 minutes.
I feel like Lolly not getting a response, you would like double down on trying to get a response out of it.
Yeah, and Kellic would
I'm sorry.
not ever respond.
That was my bad. You can ignore that. I'm trying to turn your volume up in it. Fucking Discord.
What happened?
I was trying to turn his volume up in Discord. It's like, hey, you want to invite this person to this server?
What? Did you invite somebody to the server? I don't know if you even can.
No, into like one of my random other D&D servers. I'm like, so if you get an invite, just ignore that.
Oh, okay. So as the immovable object and the unstoppable force are trying to greet each other,
or desperately trying not to greet.
Yeah. The captain of the ship comes down and he introduces himself as Walter Gavion, and he says, "I'm Captain Gavion. I'd like to welcome you to my ship, the Omen. I hope you find your voyage to be comfortable. I would ask, that if anything comes up on the seas, this should be a pretty uneventful, pretty quick trip. But if anything does come up, please follow my orders. I know that you are all quite esteemed and capable individuals, but it is my ship. So if I ask you to do something, I'd appreciate it if you do that for me." And I think as we get a bit closer to Waterdeep, I've got a couple of observations and documents I like to give all of my passengers as we get closer. So, once we're getting to the harbor, or maybe the day before, I'll come back and find you. But otherwise, you can find your cabins are on the first deck. They should be quite nice. And we're just waiting for one more individual to arrive, and we'll be making way once he gets here. Hope you have a good trip. You have any questions or anything? Okay, great. I'm gonna get back to it.
Is there a proper place to study? I'm sure the places as big as Waterdeep might have a nearby library.
Well, once we get to Waterdeep, there's certainly no shortage of libraries. There's you may want to look up the Blackstaff Academy if what I've heard of your interests, Ms. Porter, are correct. You may find their arcane studies might be up your alley. pardon me if I'm presumptuous, but you do seem to be studying that sort of material, and your chest seems to have quite a few books in it by the weight. So, yeah, the Blackstaff Academy is probably one of the first places you'll want to look in if you're going to be meeting with the Open Lord. I'm sure you'll also meet the Blackstaff herself, if not at the same time, soon after. So that's what I'd recommend. But beyond that, there's plenty of purveyors of anything you want to buy. It's the biggest city on the Sword Coast.
Well, I shall miss my manor study, but Waterdeep is a whole nother slice of land, and plenty of things to learn.
And if you need anywhere to sit, if you don't appreciate the air on the deck, feel free to use the study next to my cabin, and he can just kind of gestures back under the wheel on the main mast where his cabin would be. He says the dining room / study is yours to use as you see fit, unless we have some reason that I need to use it.
Lolly will be like, "Oh, I do so much enjoy studying. What are you studying? I'm curious."
I study arcane runes. Very specific arcane runes.
That sounds just fascinating.
And, of course, I am a scion of House Portier, and I do their bidding, wherever it may be.
Lolly will just kind of give her that like, "Oh, wow, oh, yeah, okay, look."
At this point, rather hastily driven carriage kind of almost skids to a halt at the end of the gangplank, and a man hops off, looking like you're just blooming pantaloons, giant hat with a feather in it, and almost all of you recognize this as Mr. Volo. He jumps off of the carriage and instructs a couple of porters to grab a couple of trunks, and he comes clambering somewhat out of breath up the gangplank. I think I just accidentally retconned myself, but that's fine. He comes.
Would I know who Volo is?
Yeah, you would actually. Volo was starting his publishing career when you would have been around.
Okay.
He's a halfling, right? Or is he a gnome?
Volo, I think he's a human, isn't he? Let me look it up. Volothamp Gedarm.
Because halflings live up to 250 years, so should know him.
He's human, but he got, as one of his books is more than happy to tell you, and you'd probably be familiar with, he got trapped in a timeless prison for about 70 years.
Oh, okay.
Right after his career started. And I think historically, kind of two of the most prolific authors of this time period are Volo and the Wizard Elminster. The Wizard Elminster being an archmage who has been involved in many major events over the past hundreds of years. Basically, Volo prolifically writes guides to monsters of various places, cultures, cities, and some people love his work, and Elminster frequently goes out of his way to make public his displeasure with Volo, and that he's a stupid idiot who should just go away. So, like, culturally, Volo would be a minor celebrity author. I think all of you would know who he is, and some of you have met him before when you were sailing to Chult. But he clambers up the deck. At this point, he's a man in late middle-aged. He's waving to his porters to bring a couple of trunks. You can only assume that they contain probably his most recent writing escapade that he wants to take some copies of to Waterdeep. And as he clambers up the ramp and gets to the deck, he recognizes you, Teresa. He recognizes the older party members, and kind of huffing and puffing out of breath as this says, "Ah, hi. I almost didn't make the boat. I was planning on meeting you in Waterdeep, but it seems like I'm taking the same ship as you there, so I'll have plenty of time to tell you anything you want to know. And, if you want a copy of my guide to Waterdeep," he gestures back at the trunks, "I could probably swing you a copy or two. But let me get this all on the boat, and I'm sure I'll see you at dinner tonight. I'm sure I'll see you then."
Am I right there while he's saying this?
Yeah, you're all on the deck. Like, you're all kind of... What did you roll? Can't see it. Why can't I see it? Insight. So you're just trying to figure out if
he has ulterior motives for getting on the boat with us.
Well, he seems completely genuine. Like, Volo is well known for, and even, right now, he's enthusiastic. He maybe is a bit, obviously very sure of himself and proud of himself, but you don't get any ill intent. Like, it just seems like he's genuinely happy to see you just earlier than he thought he was gonna.
Cool.
So
I'm naturally suspicious, so
can't get rid of that. So I think at this point, Xanthiel hops on the boat. Liz, you've word up in Waterdeep, as this voyage is happening, word will spread that the heroes are coming, and the name of the ship and the docking. So basically, at any point once we hit land in Waterdeep, if you want to try and approach the characters and find Xanthiel and reintroduce yourself to the group, you're definitely able to do so. So basically, whenever you want to jump in once we get there, hopefully that makes sense. It's not meant to be a trick to get you not in this part, but I just have to get everybody to Waterdeep. Yeah. So with that, Volo rushes off. Some of the crew on the boat, shows you all to your cabins. They're all quite nice, at least as far as ship cabins go. You've been given pretty nice accommodations, and you have been invited to dinner with the captain once the first night comes that you're out to sea. So is there anything anybody wants to do on the boat while you're leaving Waterdeep or before that dinner comes around?
It's Teresa would just make a comment to Volo. Volo, I do hope you put in a positive word for me in your writings.
Well, yeah, conditions in Chult have been pretty crazy, but I don't think anybody could fault you for those. No, I mean, I haven't finished my latest manuscript on the Death Curse, but when I do, I'll be sure to treat you kindly when I put you in. You've, after all, done us a great service.
Sorry, can you repeat? So we're going to be having dinner with the captain, but are we going to be meeting up with Volo at some point again in the near future?
You're on a ship with him for like 4 or 5 days, so if you want to talk to him, you just tell me what you want to do. Basically, I have like the dinner with the captain, and then whatever you guys want to do on the boat, or before that, like whatever you want to do on the boat. If you want to talk to the captain, talk to Volo, talk to the crew or each other, it's all up to you guys.
Well, at some point, I imagine after the dinner with the captain, I'm going to want to talk to Volo because, I vaguely remember him getting his career started before I personally got trapped in a timeless prison as well. And I get the sneaking suspicion that this is a guy with good business sense, in the sense that he's able to take stories and sell them for lots of money. And I'm, trying to make money. So I want to talk to him.
You want to get a book deal?
Yeah. I'm like, hey, now, how can I get some money out of this?
Okay.
Yes, I do hope you properly credit us.
I always credit all of, I mean, you can check my books. I try to credit everybody. Sometimes I slip something, but I don't think that I'll be missing any of your names in this one. Sorry, I was just trying to read something about Volo because I wanted to figure out the details of his silly thing. Anybody else want to say anything up topside?
Nope.
Cool. So then on that first night, once you have set off to sea, you've been on the boat for, you probably left mid-morning. You get out of the harbor of Baldur's Gate and begin heading north on the coast to Waterdeep. You do, as the sun is starting to set, get an invitation from the captain to join him in his dining room slash study slash every other function it can possibly serve on the ship. Asking for you, if you all would like to attend, you're welcome to.
Oh yeah, Lolly's definitely going.
Yeah, I'm attending.
Cool.
Yeah, Teresa will put on something fancy and attend.
So you all shuffle into the cabin, the dining room of the ship, and it's fine. I mean, the ship is not the most impressive ship ever, but there's a tablecloth set out. There's actually some halfway decent china, and the Captain Gavion, as you all come in, looks pleased enough to have guests and invites everybody to sit down. Drinks are poured. Volo is invited as well, so Volo's there. So it's basically all the group of you and Volo and the captain. And as food starts getting served by some of the crew, Captain Gavion says, "So how many of you have been to Waterdeep before?"
Lolly will immediately be like, "Oh, I have. It's a lovely city. I've worked there a couple of times before, but I've never been there for pleasure."
Oh, always on business?
Yes, I traveled quite extensively for my work.
Well, do you mind me asking what you used to do?
I was an investigator with the city watch in Baldur's Gate.
Oh, well, feel free to search my cargo hold. Nothing below board, below decks here, he says with a bit of a smirk. Just gonna crush these.
When
He seems
Well, I
honest.
visited as a child with my mother.
Does
It was a trip for pleasure from what I recall, but we made connections.
your family have any holdings up in Waterdeep these days? I spend so much time on the sea, I can't keep it straight.
Any noble name worth their salt would have one, yes.
Oh, well, you should. Assuming that the Lord herself doesn't put you up, you guys should have a nice place. Nice place to stay then, I guess. Someday I'm hoping to retire, but not yet. Still got to save up a bit more before I can get my villa. Probably gonna have to get it on the ocean though. Don't think I'll ever get away from the sea. Volo, what's taking you up? Are you part of this whole crew? And Volo kind of starts saying, "Well, I mean, I've got to. Somebody's got to document all of these momentous occasions. I don't know if I could say I'm part of their crew. I mean, I did meet them at the beginning of their journey, and they have some new friends, so who knows?" And he just kind of smiles at all of you with a slightly smarmy smile. It's almost as if the Volo charm is being turned on already, even though you haven't gotten through the appetizer course. And so, looking at all of you, the captain says, "I do have to give you the spiel I give all of my guests that I take to Waterdeep. So if you'll indulge me for a moment, I'll try to just lay out some information. I kind of consider it part of my duties just so people know what to expect when they get there, especially if you haven't been in a while. The city of Waterdeep takes their laws very, very seriously. More so, and he looks to you, Lolly, a bit more so than Baldur's Gate, but you probably know that already. But I guess the good thing about that is that the people also take the laws pretty seriously, and the Watch is actually surprisingly uncorrupt. So, as long as you stay on the right side of the law up there, you shouldn't have too much of a problem. But I do have just kind of a general outline of kind of what those laws are, and he has this document, which is basically the general laws of Waterdeep. As I said, there are watch basically all over Waterdeep. There's a city watch and a city guard. The city guard being the more military arm, and the city watch being the more normal police. The watch itself is somewhat famous for being friendly, helpful, and trying to avoid violence at just about any cost. But if events transpire that they have to resolve violently, they have usually resources to deal with it. I don't think there's anything surprising in here, but basically, normal laws. I can pull this up and share it if there's ever any question about legality of anything. The other thing is almost if you ever get arrested or do anything bad or try to get somebody arrested or do anything bad, the law acts incredibly quickly in Waterdeep. If the criminal can't be brought directly to a magister immediately, the magisters being the equivalent of judges and juries, you will be brought before one within 10 days. And usually there are pretty hefty financial fines for many of the crimes, and people take it surprisingly seriously following the law, because a good law-abiding city is good for business, and Waterdeep is all about business, if nothing else. So you don't have to read this, but I will share it if you have any questions about anything as the game comes up. Let me know. Yeah, I think that's the law bit. So he passes that out to everybody and says, I guess if you have any questions, let me know. Sorry to, bring the mood down immediately, but I always want to let people know just kind of how serious they take that stuff up there. So anyway,
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Because it's been 100 years, I want to double check with some of these. Are you saying so? Arson. Is this intended arson? Accidental arson? Does intention or accident play a role in any of the punishments for any of these?
So usually,
like poisoning a city well. If you accidentally poison a city well, am I sentenced to death? Or does it have to be intentional?
The magisters are known for hearing all sides of a case and adjudicating as they see fit. If you so like I'm not sure how you accidentally poison a city well. Never really thought about it before, but if I guess you do get arrested and sentenced for poisoning a city well, you can also request an audience with basically an appeal with the masked lords of the city, and they will hear it, although they're usually pretty quick. If you bring any issues before the masked lords, whether they're appeals for criminal issues or any sort of concerns that you have about the city, they assemble every day in the palace. There's usually posted hearing times, or I guess if you were imprisoned, you could hire a lawyer to figure it out for you. But you do get the the burning length of a short candle to make your case for whatever it is you want to make your case for, and that's the final appeal. So it all happens pretty swift up in Waterdeep, but generally, if you run across the wrong side of the law and it's not horrendous, the magisters usually want to make sure that everybody gets treated fairly, and that they kind of uphold the law. Not sure if I've never really thought about accidental arson or poisoning wells before.
I don't think there's such thing as accidental arson. I think there's you accidentally burnt a building down or you're an arsonist.
I see your point, but I just want to make sure I can argue my case in case things happen.
And I'd say, Gibbles, all of these laws are very familiar to you. Like, the laws of Waterdeep to you are what you grew up with, so you'd probably, unless you have a good reason not to, your character would probably agree with a lot of it and that whole approach, because it's a pretty consistent thing about Waterdavians, that they believe in the law because the law is what helps them have their wonderful city. And then the captain says, are you all familiar with the Masked Lords and how that all works up in Waterdeep? It's a little different from a lot of our other cities.
Lolly will just nod and kind of give that of course look.
Does anybody need me to actually go through that explanation or no?
No, I know what it is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're fine.
Masked Lords.
Cool. Well then, like I said, sorry to bring up, I'm sure none of you are going to have any challenges whatsoever with all this, what with you being heroes and all. So I think we can get back to the meal. I'm looking forward to it. We got some quail on the boat this time. This will be the nicest meal of the trip, but I'm looking forward to it, and I think I smell it coming. And as he says that, a couple of servants start coming and bringing a nice spread of pretty good smelling food for boat food. Each of you get a roast quail. There's some a nice selection of vegetables and drinks for anybody who wants them. They have the option of wine or brandy, whichever you'd like. And as the meal goes on, Volo pipes up eventually and says, I've got to tell you, I'm supposed to tell you about this well, I guess, I don't know when I was supposed to tell you, maybe when I see you, but you all were working for Syndra, and unfortunately she passed away before you all returned. But I do have her bequest for all of you. And he kind of starts patting down his doublet, and after a few moments draws out a scroll and clears a little space on the table and says, I have here, and I'm proud to give to all of you, a deed to a property in Waterdeep. There is a manor, Troll Skull Manor, up kind of on the north side of town, but Syndra owned it and decided to leave it to anybody who defeated this death curse. And well, this is maybe not proper pomp and circumstance, but I'm to hand it over to you. So as soon as we get to Waterdeep, and once you've gotten through everything that the Open Lord there wants to handle, I'm happy to go with you to a magister's office, and we can get this thing transferred over, and then you'll have a home in Waterdeep. So that's pretty exciting. I've been there a few times. It might need some help fixing up, but yeah. This may not be much for you, Miss Porter, but I guess for the rest of you, you're going to be landowners.
A property, you say? Well,
Pretty
I
good
do know
deal.
that property comes at a premium in Waterdeep. I suppose I'll take this boon for what it's worth. We can always hire servants to fix it up.
Definitely, there's plenty of guilds you can hire. I would recommend that you talk to the guilds about any work you want to do there. You might run into more hassle than it's worth if you don't go through the guilds. But I'm I can help you out a bit, and I can point you in the right direction to some folks once we're there, and kind of help you get it back up and running. I think the manor, the last time I was there, it wasn't looking so great. Like she's got good bones, but it's been vacant. She's been vacant for a while, so I think probably have to clear the place out. And I think there's a legend. I haven't seen it myself to prove it out, but there's supposedly a poltergeist living in the residence right now. Um, and as far as some of the rumors go, it's probably one of the former bartenders called Liff. So when you get there, once we get it all transferred over, you can probably deal with Liff however you want. But I'm not sure if that spirit's really hostile, more possessive of the place. So you could probably either get rid of him or try to find out if you want to help him out.
A haunting, of course. I'll deal with it.
I don't know if he's a bartender. Maybe he's a nice guy.
I'm kind of interested in this. It'd be cool to have a ghost friend in our house.
Spirits are echoes of the strongest memories on death. If the spirit is a non-hostile entity, then it should be worth something to keep it around. If not, then I will excise it.
All right. Well,
Um,
as soon as we get there, I guess we'll find out.
So dinner continues after that bit of fun property talk. Does anybody have any topics they want to broach with the captain or with Volo while you're here?
I'd like to ask the captain if he's heard of my family. As in, I'm assuming I know I got that letter, but I don't really know what's going on, so I'm double checking to see uh, has my family amassed enough wealth to become known throughout Waterdeep?
And he says, you said you said you're the Marchant family.
Yeah, the Marchand family. We traded in just kind of generic goods, but we were sort of coming. We were starting to break through a little while ago. I imagine we're doing pretty well today, right? You've heard of us.
I can't say that any of the noble families are Marchands these days. I don't know how else to say it to you. I haven't heard of any famous Marchands in Waterdeep. I don't doubt you at all, but I'm the name doesn't really ring a bell.
Hmm. Okay, well, I'm sure there's a reason for this.
And he just kind of looks over. Sorry, I couldn't give you better news.
No, it's fine.
I feel like the accent for the captain is slowly shifting, and I don't even know what's happening anymore, but that's fine. I was going from gruff, and now somehow I've turned into like southern. I don't know what happened there, but there you go. Fair enough. Okay. Any other questions or topics of conversation any of you have?
No, that's it for me.
Okay. So as the meal winds down, Volo will raise his glass to a toast to the brave heroes of Chult, and kind of with smiles and winks all around, raises his glass and drains it to all of you, and the captain raises his as well. And after the captain finishes his drink, he prepares to retire to his cabin for the night so that he can check on the last few things for the boat to make sure the voyage of the night is good, and then go to bed. He invites you all to use the dining room as long as you'd like, as long as you keep the volume to a reasonable enough level for him to actually go to sleep. Volo just keeps drinking. Anybody who is willing to talk to him, you will get just streams of mildly to highly improbable stories, especially after, for some of you, your experience traveling in Chult and having encountered many of the things there. He even tries to tell some stories about Chult that many of you probably recognize are grains of truth in them, but not a whole lot of reality in the area. And unless you stick around, I will kind of move us forward to arriving in Waterdeep in a moment, unless anybody wants to do anything else on the boat.
I'm good to get the water.
So I do have to ask one question here. Oh, people are pinging me. Who's pinging me? Sorry, I just answered you, Joe. We probably got a little bit more before there's like a sensible point, so
I got you. No problem.
I can just, yeah, I'll have the recording up anyway, because a lot of this is tying things up and getting us the kickoff for everybody together and seeing where you guys want to go next. But so one question I do have before we get to Waterdeep is, I know at the end of the last campaign, Belcorge the Mini Beholder had come with you guys to Baldur's Gate. It had been interested in coming with you to Waterdeep. Would you allow Belcorge to travel with you, or would you guys want him to go away?
I 100% would love to have Belcourse come with me.
Yes, I would not mind.
Okay. Joe, I'm assuming you're all down for a beholder being around.
Oh yeah, I'm fascinated by a beholder.
So basically, to get him on the boat, y'all kind of put him in a big shipping container, big trunk, just because even Belcorge himself noted that trying to get a beholder onto a ship might be a bad ship. I don't know what I said. Anyway, getting him on the ship might have been weird, so he's just been kind of bouncing around in the hold most of this time. Being a beholder, he does kind of inject telepathic communications out at you guys every now and then, mostly expressing shock and amazement that after the dinner that Volo is considered famous in this world of humans and other humanoid creatures, just kind of utterly derisive. But the boat will begin its approach to Baldur's Gate. I'm going to go to the bathroom, and then we'll kind of get through, or not Baldur's Gate, Waterdeep, but I'm going to go to the bathroom, and then roll through. So I will be back in just a minute. So I popped up an image on the screen. As you approach Waterdeep from the sea, I think, well, you've all been there before, but every time you see it, the city is impressive in its size. From the great harbor, which you kind of see a view of in front of you. Buildings and streets climb up through the dock and trades wards, which you can see, and you can make out Castle Waterdeep going up the slope of Mount Waterdeep. And you can just make out the plateau of the upper half of the city where the kind of more expensive wards are. Dotting the landscape, you can make out a few towering statues. The size of the city dwarfs them, but you realize as you get closer that these statues are somewhere between 100 and 200 feet tall, each one kind of unique, and these are the legendary guardians of Waterdeep, frozen in time. Rumors have it that the Blackstaff, the chief mage or wizard of Waterdeep, can call on them to aid the city, and this is a legend you would all be familiar with. In the sky above you, you can see patrols of griffin riders flying over the harbor and the walls, and you can see, as you get closer to the docks, the bright yellow and orange garb. Almost every dock has a group of watchmen on it, making sure that this harbor choked with ships, every ship pays its docking fee and is inspected properly. The harbor is just full of ships. Most of them are merchant vessels. There are a few pleasure yachts. You do see at one of the docks, there seems to be an especially garish ship with a matching circus tent almost is being put up on the plaza in front of the dock that matches the sails of the ship itself. And then there's a few sleek armor-topped clippers with banks of oars, which you assume are the military aspect of Waterdeep's navy, kind of patrolling the ships. So just plenty of military presence and even more trade presence. And as you get to the dock where your ship is berthing, you notice that there are a handful of carriages emblazoned with a large shield with a silver star on it, and a particularly heavy contingent of the city watch are looking at this dock. And as you are approaching, getting tied off, Volo kind of comments out, "Oh, looks like they're rolling out the red carpet for you guys." And as you disembark from the ship, you are met by what looks to be either a sergeant or a commander of the watch, who asks you all if you would be so kind as to take the Open Lord's carriages to the Palace of Waterdeep so that they can get you accommodated for the festivities of the evening and the following day.
Oh, wow, that sounds quite wonderful. I am so excited for this.
Well, this is what I kind of expected. So that's good.
So I'm popping up the map of Waterdeep just to, I think we've looked at it a few times before, but you guys are coming in the dock ward. Waterdeep Castle, I guess so just to give the geography of the city for anybody who's unfamiliar with it. So the dock ward, the southern ward, and the trade ward all kind of slope uphill. Mount Waterdeep is off to the east. It's the big chunk of not land or like not city on this map. Waterdeep Castle, which is kind of that castle in the picture I sent out, that's the military castle. As you guys board the carriages, you notice that there's a kind of a crowd beginning to form, and people are getting excited and kind of cheering and hurraying, and you're getting a pretty warm welcome. And it looks like the guards are mostly to make sure that they can kind of get you from the docks up to the palace, which is more on the north side of the city without or at least a more northerly portion of the city without too much trouble. But you board the docks, or you board the carriages down here, and you are kind of at a decent but relaxed pace, kind of you're in closed carriages, so I guess you can either close the windows or not. But as these carriages wind their way up through the dock ward and the trade ward, it's almost like there's a word of your arrival has run before you, and people are kind of leaning out and cheering, and small crowds are gathering as you pass. Eventually, you make it up to the very edges of the castle ward where the city flattens out, and the carriages break to the east to take you to the Palace of Waterdeep. The palace being more where the Open Lord Larell Silverhand and where she doesn't necessarily live, but definitely holds not court, but holds her official duties, and where the masked lords have their daily audience. Kind of the civic center of the city, as opposed to Waterdeep Castle, which is the military center of the city. And you are kind of whisked into the walls of the palace and met by servants. You notice in the plaza it's heavily guarded. None of the guards seem unfriendly. You guys are coming as basically celebrated heroes, and you are offered to be shown to your quarters in the palace for the evening. And one of the servants asks, the Open Lord has requested a meeting with you, but she has left it up to you whether you would prefer to meet with her this evening before the ceremony tomorrow, or if you would rather collect yourselves and meet after the ceremony.
Lolly just looks around expectantly because he doesn't see he has any kind of input on it.
It doesn't matter to me.
Basically, do you want me to do my last scripted part first, or do you want me to interject another meeting with some NPCs, characters first, and then do my scripted bit?
I'd say go ahead with this scripted part. We can figure out what to do next.
Okay. This is the last block of text I have, so don't worry. Then you get to yell at me and I have to figure out what to do. So the servants, you let them know that you'd rather rest after your voyage. They take you to the quarters, unless you want to do anything in particular. You're all shown to just fabulous palatial quarters in the Palace of Waterdeep, where you can have a truly relaxing night. If you'd like to do anything, let me know. Otherwise, I'll kind of fast forward to the ceremony that occurs the next day.
Ceremony.
Okay. Let's see if I set this up right. That's not the right map. Haha. Joke's on me. Where'd it go? Here we go. How are these loading for everybody now?
So fast.
Nice.
Yeah, really bad.
The joy of hosting. Okay, let me find some tokens and move.
A lot of these people look exactly the same, Ray.
Well, I'm doing a little bit more theater of the mind. Apologize, the tokens. I'm not going to have maps for every single thing we do in a massive city. Look, I got you a plaza, okay? So we got Liz, we got Lolly, we got Gibbles, we got Teresa, we've got Xanthiel. Oh, Xanthiel's not loaded in here. Well, Xanthiel's here. Hey, I do have a Sebastian. I do have a Kellic. I am going to pull Lolly. I'm going to pull you back. You're like... So basically, the following day, in the courtyard of this palace, you are all, escorted. You don't know. You're all escorted to the gates of the palace, where at this point, imagine, if you will, a throng of people is arrayed before you. A few people stand out. It's mostly commoners. There's some ranks of nobles towards the front of all of the crowds. But I will kind of going. There do appear to be, just for some context, over to the east side of the map, there are a pair of incredibly well-dressed nobles watching things. Well, I'll just let these people talk to you after the ceremony. But basically, you have a front row of mostly nobles or quite possibly like very rich merchants. Outside of that, there is a slender, dark-skinned woman standing kind of right behind all of you after you're brought out into this plaza. Larell Silverhand, the open lord of Waterdeep, who is basically a living legend. All of you would have heard of her. She was formerly an adventurer, supremely powerful magic user, and she kind of came out of reclusion or retirement to replace the former open lord of Waterdeep, Dagult Neverember, some 5 years ago or so. Nobody's quite sure how, but Dagult Neverember, who had been the open lord and fairly well liked, all of a sudden was deposed and fled to Neverwinter, where he is now the mayor of Neverwinter. And Larell Silverhand has ruled Waterdeep as the open lord since then. Basically, she's been around since before anybody can remember and is now ruling the city and seeming to do a good job of it. Behind her, and behind all of you, as I said, there's a slender, dark-skinned woman carrying a very gnarly looking black staff. And you can only assume that this woman is the Blackstaff, the chief wizard of the city of Waterdeep. But as you come out, Larell turns to all of you and smiles, and then turns to the crowd in front, nobles and commoners alike, and in a pretty clear and commanding voice says, "Citizens of Waterdeep, the death curse was a truly terrible affliction that struck not just our city, but the entire world. It claimed victims from every strata of our society, from the richest of our nobles to the most innocent of our children. Many groups ventured forth into dark dungeons and far-off lands to hunt for the source of this curse. Many we know died. Many have not returned. But before you, I am proud to present the group of adventurers that succeeded where all others failed. We know without any doubt that this band of heroes braved uncharted lands and disease, monsters and mortals that stood in their way, and faced a great evil. Some of the number did not survive the journey. Some bear scars they will carry for the rest of their lives. Despite all this, they succeeded in finding the Soulmonger. They shattered it and released the souls of our loved ones. They faced the abominable undead godling the Atropol and sent it into the flames of justice. They stood face to face with the Archlich Asirak, who has no regard for any realm of men, and forced him out of ours. They ended the death curse and gave us back our freedom from fear. For these heroic feats, it is my honor and pleasure to bestow upon them the badge of the Order of the Protectors of the North. It is also my honor to grant them the honorary title and styling of Knights of the Lord's Alliance. I present to each of you this badge and signet to confirm these honors. I hope they serve you well and guide you to ever greater exploits and heroics in defending our realm." And then to the 5 of you here, she walks down the line and drapes around each of you a badge medallion that has a shield that pretty much looks like the shield of Waterdeep, and also gives each of you a signet ring, being the signet ring of a Knight of the Lord's Alliance. And then as she goes through this procession. She kind of nods and smiles to each of you. She does so and then turns to face the crowd again and says, I present to you the heroes of Chult and the vanquishers of the death curse. Welcome them to our city, honor their bravery, and do not fall afoul of their drive to justice. Long may they shine as a beacon to guide you. Long may Waterdeep and the Lord's Alliance follow in their path to create a safer world for all of us. And she raises her hands at this, and the crowd goes pretty nuts. At this point, some guards kind of step up just to make sure that you don't get swarmed and do crowd control. I guess you guys can bask in adulation of the crowd for as long as you'd like. Eventually, Larell will turn and say to all of you kind of quietly, just enough so you can hear it over the crowd, I would appreciate speaking to you once you've had your fill of this appreciation. And she walks backwards towards the door of the palace and looks to the side, and the black staff follows her, and they leave into the palace. And then at this point, you guys are free to either... it looks like there are a variety of nobles who are approaching here. It's up to you if you want to speak to them now, if you want to follow Larell into the palace, or what you would like to do.
Well, first I'd like to turn to everyone that I'm standing next to, and I'm going to take in the moment and say that we're fucking heroes, and to bask in that, especially since I just spent 100 years in there.
It's good to be properly recognized for your work, your blood, your sweat, and definitely, for some, tears. But mostly blood.
Yeah, Kellic just definitely bird blinks and walks off after her.
I would assume at this point, Kellic just flies away, basically. And I'm out. Okay. Do you all want to let any of these nobles actually approach and talk to you, or do you want to follow Larell as soon as possible?
I think Teresa probably would want to do a little bit of socializing before she leaves.
Okay. So the first individual or the closest individual, I should say, who comes up to you all, is a man who looks he looks like he was probably once a fearsome adventurer. Now he looks like he spends far too much time enjoying ale and remembering his adventures.
Robert.
Huh?
Like Robert Baratheon.
Yes, a very Robert Baratheon figure. Yes. Maybe not quite so drunk. Like you get the impression that this guy could still probably throw down in a scrap. But he walks up to all of you and says, "Oh, it's nice to see another group of adventurers coming through. My name's Mert. I probably have a fancier name, but that's good enough. I'll give you, just congratulate you for what you've done, but if you find yourselves in need of interesting curiosities or just need any help in the city, let me know." And he kind of pats around himself and grabs a piece of paper out of his one of his many pockets and kind of looks at all of you and just hands it out to see who wants to take it.
I take it.
And you see an address on the paper, and it's basically his residence. And with that, Mert kind of smiles at all of you and says, "Don't be strangers. If you find anything weird in this city that you need help with, feel free to come and talk to me. I've been around a lot here, and I'll let you have your moment." And
Teresa will happily take a piece of the paper. It's always good to start making contacts and connections as soon as you enter another city.
And he looks over to you, Gibbles and Lolly, and winks and says, "She's the brains of your operation, isn't she?"
I just laugh.
What are you inciting?
I want to know if he's being genuine or if he's trying to, like, kind of figure us out.
Both. Like, he's definitely sizing you up, but not in a malicious way. Because you're just gonna roll like amazing rolls on all of your insight checks.
Yeah, forever. Have you seen my modifier?
It's fine. It's a plus 11. Yeah, so you get the impression that he is both genuine and also sizing you up. Like, he's not lying, he's not dissembling, he's truly happy with what's happening here. He's also like, just, you get this guy sizes everyone up. It's not you, it's just how he operates. And I would say, Teresa, the name Mert is familiar to you. You don't know why. And I think, Lolly, I think you would actually know who Mert is, but I'll come back and dive into that more if we interact with him again.
Okay.
This is not just, this guy is the name, he used to be called Mert the Merciless, and now he is known as Mert the Mirthful. I think, well, Teresa and Lolly, you would both know that he is a quite famous former adventurer. He is not just, like, this is all kind of clicking. You're like, oh, this is Mert. And he's definitely kind of, yeah, he's maybe gone to seed a little bit, but there's still some sharpness behind the mustache and the eyes. And he waves at all of you and walks off, not wanting to overstay his welcome.
Okay. Interesting.
Unless you want to say anything to him. Sorry. Do you want to say anything to him before he leaves? Okay. Okay. After Mert gets up there, the incredibly well-dressed couple walk up, and Teresa walk directly to you, and both smiling the most noble political smiles you have ever seen, say, the man says, "Ah, you must be Teresa. I am Victoro Castellanter, and this is my wife Amalia. We've heard of your house before, and we are so pleased to have you joining us here in our city. How long will you be staying?" And they're almost ignoring the rest of you.
Ah, Lord and Lady, a pleasure to meet you.
Do you have adequate accommodations in our city?
As it stands, we have been given the property, but I've yet to see the condition.
Well, and so, Lolly, they're just dripping affected noble, to the degree that it's almost hard to tell if they're being sincere or not. But you just assume, based on your history of working with various members of society, you would never trust these people.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured.
And Amal, oh god, I hit her name. Yeah, Amalia. So Amalia says, "Well, my dear, if you find that there is anything that you need while you're visiting, we'd be more than happy to assist your family. And I think my husband may have some matters which heroes such as all of you, we would be happy to discuss some opportunities that we have that may be up your alley, if you take my meaning." Am I talking loud enough for that to work? Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you. Well, that is quite an invitation. And I'm sure that my elders in House Portier and in Baldur's Gate would be happy to join hands, so to speak. I will consult with my fellow, and she looks back to them, my fellow companions and the powers that be, and I will get back to you with an answer.
And Victoro, his with just the smallest of smiles, glances at everybody in the group and says, "Of course, you absolutely heroes such as your party should all make this decision together. As soon as you have, please ask. You can find our house. Ask any carriage, and they can take you directly to us at your convenience. We'll allow all of you to enjoy your moment. Thank you." And they will. Does anybody else want to say anything to these nobles that are ignoring everybody except Teresa?
I probably don't say anything to them.
No. Like, being so naturally suspicious, they're just going to be like, wow, they seem like criminals.
Anybody that rich has to be
For
a
some
criminal.
reason, I can't roll dice. Is my sheet frozen?
It shouldn't be, but I just had a weird lag spike. Let me check your sheet. What are you trying to roll?
I'm trying to roll insight.
I'm going to see if it works on my end, just for fun.
Because I'm trying to do insight to see if they are, like her radar for bullshit.
I'll say even without an insight roll, your noble family politicking, like as soon as they started talking, you just were like, this is what it's like when I'm at home with my family. Like it was just all spiking. For you, this would be all the bullshit that you had tried to avoid for most of your life in what you've been, your interests have diverged from your families, and now that you're suddenly a rising star, you're realizing maybe after talking to them and feeling that all those feelings of how just the latent manipulation and superiority in their voices, you're kind of remembering why you didn't like a lot of this stuff. But there's many ways forward, and you can pick which ones you want to follow.
So they're scummy, just like every other noble. Well, that's normal in Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. So yes, everybody thinks that they are incredibly disingenuous and also ridiculously wealthy and probably very powerful, and they want to talk to you all. Anything else with the Castellanters that you guys want to ask or think about or do or anything?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. A drow man dressed rather outlandishly in a enormous top hat and what can only be described as a caricature of a rogue's outfit strides up to the group of you and says, "I'd love to introduce myself. I'm Zarda Zord, and I am visiting this city much as you are. We're having a festival down by the docks, and I'd love to invite all of you to come attend anytime in the next 10 days or so. It would be a great honor to have heroes such as yourself grace my little pavilion."
I want to ask him where in the dock would we find you?
I believe you sailed in yesterday. Did you see the ship with the sails matching the pavilion that was being created next to it?
Yes.
That's mine.
What kind of pavilion do you have?
Oh, we dabble. We're one part acrobatic act, one part a troupe of bards to entertain, and we trade this and that. It's more of a celebration of culture from around the world that we bring from port to port. So this guy is disingenuous, but also passionately believing what he's saying at the same time. Like, there's something to this guy, but it also seems like what he's saying is legit. Like, he doesn't seem to be lying, but there also seems to be some ulterior motive. As he's talking, he also looks like he's kind of estimating and judging all of you, and also just kind of looking for opportunity, I guess, is the best way to describe that.
Gotcha. Um,
So does anybody want to respond to him? Sorry, I just jumped into the insight. Or you asked him about the tent. He was explaining what his tent is, or what his pavilion is. But yeah, so I'm a traveling merchant and troubadour, if you will, trying to share my joy and make a few gold at the same time.
Excellent. So you have performers or such, or you run a bazaar of a sort, or I'm quite curious. I'm intrigued.
And he smiles as you ask him this, and he says, well, it's a bit of all of those all rolled into one. We have wares that we've picked up around the world. There's music. Obviously, there's drinks, some of it local, some of it foreign. And we have performers of various sorts. It's just a celebration. And he kind of gestures into the air as he says this.
How lovely. Okay. Well, that sounds wonderful to me. Well, what does everyone else think? Doesn't that sound lovely, everyone?
Oh, it sounds quite nice. If we have time over the next 10 days, I think I might be inclined to visit.
And he, go ahead.
I want to ask him as well. Is there an entrance fee?
Oh, for the heroes of the Death Curse, there's no entrance fee. Simply come and we will enjoy the festivities in each other's company. I'd be honored to have you there. If anything, I should pay you.
No, there's no need for that. I just was curious. I know Gibbles is probably like,
At this, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I definitely get the sense from him, or at least from you, Ray, that, he's down with the docks. I'm very familiar with the docks and what the docks represent, and that opportunity is the big driving factor in the docks. And so I kind of see a little bit of the successful version of what I could be in him, or like a path forward. And I think also, so I'm interested in this for sure.
Yeah, I mean, his outfit is definitely worth potentially more than you've ever had in your coin purse at one time. So he is a successfully dressed dude. And he'll, seeing that all of you are somewhat interested by this, before he can outstay his welcome with a flourish, lowers his hat and kind of does that kind of male curtsy where you kind of lean back on a leg with your other leg out and just kind of draws his hat and says, "Then I look forward to seeing you soon," and puts the hat on his head, turns around, almost pivoting on his heel, and walks back into the crowd. And I think that's as many people as are going to run up to you. Please don't mind any of the other named tokens or whatever. I was doing a bunch of stuff. So at this point, after those folks have left the milieu, the guards kind of close or broaden their ranks a little bit to prevent any further people from getting at you. And it looks like there's not going to be too many more folks getting through the ring of guards at this point. They just want to make sure that you guys don't get swarmed.
Well, that's nice of them. Lolly will start trying to strike up a conversation with one of the guards.
Yeah, what do you say?
Well, this sure is a lovely city you have. I do love the environment and all of the wonderful people. Have you lived here your whole life?
Oh, you're talking to me. Yeah. Yeah, I have. I'm glad you like it. I mean, it's a pleasure to have you guys here. You've definitely done a great thing for all of us.
Oh yes, it's quite beautiful, and you know, I wasn't actually involved with the death curse, unfortunately, but I did run in with these lovely fellows and lady, of course, and I'm quite excited to go on an adventure with them. They are quite the crew. I have to agree with you.
Well, yeah. Sorry, one second. You that no, stay back, stay back. No, please stay back from the line. I don't. Please, thank you, thank you. Um, yeah, I mean, if they've taken you in, you must have some sort of skill. So, I wish you the best of luck.
Oh, I thank you. I do appreciate you taking care of us and putting your life on the line for us. It's quite brave.
I don't know if my life's on the line. No, step back, step back. But you know, it's the least we can do for, I guess, the heroes or the friends of the heroes. I mean, yeah, you know, I mean, my grandpa passed, so you know, we were able to find out from the clerics that they fixed it before his soul got eaten by that thing. So you know, it, not a problem at all. You know,
Oh, I'm
have a
so
good time there.
glad to hear that for you.
He's like, no, 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 you two, no, no. And the guy just glares at somebody trying to push through, and the person steps back. And he seems a bit. The crowd is kind of starting to push in a little bit. Um, at this point, trying to get closer. And the guard gets a bit preoccupied with trying to keep the crowd back.
Okay, I'm done chatting with the guard.
Is your new goal to just make me play as many NPCs as humanly possible?
Yeah, you never know which one's gonna have something interesting to
Right?
say.
Okay. Uh, so you guys are standing out on this plaza. It is getting to be late morning. The sun is starting to beat down. If you would like, you can go into the palace. You could also not go into the palace if you don't want. There's nobody forcing you to. The guards aren't guarding you. But what do you guys want to do?
Uh, I'm all right with going into the palace, but whatever we do before that, I walk up to Lolly and I say, "Listen, Lolly, I know that you're a talker, but you someday you have to teach me the art of conversation because I'm rough around the edges, and you clearly can talk your way around anything.
Oh,
This can
I
come
would
useful."
love that. That sounds wonderful. You can learn so much by talking to different people. It's quite interesting sometimes. You never quite know what everyone's going to have to say.
Interesting. All right, I may have to take you up on this. Next person I see, I'm launching into a conversation.
Oh, that's an excellent idea. I do suggest it.
This- Hey Ray, did we talk to is Yala? Was she one of the nobles, or did we not talk to her?
At this point, just yes, but no.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple other named NPCs down here, but you can just pretend they're not there. Just because I'm looking at the time and just trying to think. I think there's one more sequence I would like to get through and then call it. It just depends, because you guys can either, well, you can do whatever. You can go in the palace, you can leave the palace, you can do what you want.
Well, I think once she's done socializing, she'll go with Larell with the palace. Oh, to the palace. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll follow. I'll go
Okay.
with.
So, Exunt Plaza. Give me 1 second and I will launch into this conversation. And I'm back. Okay. So as you enter the group of you into the palace proper, at this point, I'm going to ignore the older characters, and just stick to the new ones at this point. I'll kind of handle that with a recap of what happens to some of them later when it matters. But you all enter the palace. I don't have a separate map for this. And as you enter, one of the staff of the palace gestures to you to follow you. You come into this grand columned hallway that is obviously the main hall of the palace. They lead you up the central staircase, breaking off to the left up to the second floor, and they take you to a room with a table in it, kind of a nice drawing room in one of these rooms behind the balconies that you can see on the map, where it is quite obvious that Larell and the Blackstaff have been able to observe the plaza, but not be seen to be observing it. And the servant ushers you into the room. And as you all come in, Larell says, please, have a seat. You're welcome here. Please have a seat. There's just a few matters I'd like to discuss with you as you come to our city.
Oh, okay, very well. Let's take a seat.
And as you all sit down, the slender woman with the black staff just kind of leans against one of the walls of the room, and Larell moves to the far head of the table and adjusts herself down into the chair, and looking at all of you says, first, I would like to honestly and sincerely thank you for what you did. I've been involved in no small quests of importance in the past, and I understand what you've done for us, so I appreciate that, and I apologize for the pageantry, but I have my role. So thank you, and thank you for dealing with this ceremony and some of those folks who came to talk to you. Thank you.
Well, of course, we did so much enjoy it.
It was an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
I'm happy to assist the Lady Larell.
And she smiles smallly at all of your thanks and nods her head. Obviously, the badge and the title are mostly honorifics. I can extend to you. You're welcome at any time to request an audience with myself or with the lords. And I don't mean just coming to our hours. If you have need to see me, please, send word to the palace or let somebody know I'm not always here, but I'm available when needed. There is one matter, and she glances over at the woman holding the staff. There's one matter I would like to discuss with you, since you do seem quite adept at solving problems. We have come to think. Are all of you familiar with the former Open Lord of our city, Lord Neverember, or former Lord Neverember, now Mayor Neverember?
I've heard of him.
I do believe when I came to the city on a prior visit that I met him or dealt with his guard at some point.
And she turns to you, Lolly. You were an investigator for Baldur's Gate, and you oversaw a few cases of smuggling and slavery, I believe.
Why, yes, and I even had the honor of working with some of your city watch on some of their cases. They are quite spectacular, I must say.
I appreciate them greatly. Our watch is one of our greatest assets, and if my notes are correct, you did help resolve some rather unfortunate business, so thank you for that. But to cut to the chase a bit, Lord Neverember left in unfortunately unfortunate circumstances. I didn't mean to step on his toes, and I hope he bears me no ill will, and I even hate to suggest this, but it seems that the former Lord may have had some under-the-table dealings financially with the city, and if you would be willing to investigate it, I would be more than happy to have a group who's not necessarily on the books, as it were, and not known to be involved with me beyond. She waves her hand towards the window. All of this, to investigate, to see if you can find anything of his associates or any activity he may have been up to before he left. We think he may have been involved in embezzling a sizable sum from the city, but almost all the circumstances around it are shrouded in mystery, even to us. And the woman in the corner just sighs in exasperation as this is said.
Lolly's super serious as she's saying this and kind of just lets it all sink in. And asks, are there any things in particular which leads you to this conclusion? Were there books that didn't balance? Were there criminals who confessed after the fact? What is it that brings you to this conclusion?
let's say that it seems that the coffers of the city are somewhat lighter than we expected, yet nobody in the royal palace, or even, well, obviously Lord Neverember, has rebuffed any attempts I've made to discuss this, saying that my questions are all slander and libel. But the books don't add up, but nobody here seems to know anything about it. We assume that there is some sort of plot or magic, or probably both, involved in this. We have employed many methods, and she looks at the woman to the side again. All of our attempts to glean information from the staff and the accountants have failed to produce anything. We have some documentation and some potential leads that we can send you once you've had time to adjust to the city and find your footing. I've gathered that you have a property, so you may want to investigate that first, but we can certainly send that information along if you're interested in helping us investigate this further.
Why, I don't see why not. I would be honored to help you again. I am quite troubled by these accusations and this potential theft. I would be happy to look into this for you.
And Larell winces slightly and says, I don't even want to say I'm accusing theft. I just want to figure out what happened. And so it sounds like you're interested in helping, so I will have my people send you what information we have to help direct your efforts. I hate to call you out of retirement, as it were, but your help is greatly appreciated, and I'll forward along what we have once you've had a chance to settle into the city.
Much appreciated. I look forward to it.
I think, again, thank you. That concludes the matter I wanted to discuss. I suppose it's only fitting. Is there anything else you would like to speak to me about? I know this has all been very hasty and very, well, maybe not hasty, but the last day and a half for you has probably been a whirlwind. So if there's anything you'd like to ask me, please feel free.
Ollie will just kind of like nod his head and wander off.
I ask her if, say, I've been gone for 100 years. My family was starting to break through. I just have to ask: have you heard of my family name? Have we are we established, or have we still not broken through?
And she looks to you with kind of a sorrowful look and says, I'm sorry that your family's station, if my information is correct, hasn't changed a whole lot since you left. It hasn't gotten any worse from what I can gather. Some of our records get spotty during the spell plague and some of the troubles around that, but I think your family, I know that they own a business down in the docks, but I don't think they've managed to make a whole lot of progress since you left on your attempts to find fame and fortune. But I guess you've succeeded, so there's a silver lining there. Maybe you'll be able to help pull them up through your fame, your skill, or whatever. Sorry, my brain completely just died on that line.
Gibbles just he like nods, and he's like, he understands and just says thank you for your time.
Well, thank you all. I'm sorry, Monsieur Merchant, that I could not give you better news, and I will send the information I've spoken of. Uh, Varja, I believe you had some specific words, but I'll leave it to you. And with that, Larell stands up and nods at all of you and leaves the room. Varja, or Vajra, sorry, I'm going to get the name right. So Vajra kind of leans off the wall and looks at all of you. So she has the black staff and is the black staff, and all of you would know that she is the chief wizard of the city, but she is also looks incredibly young. And she surveys all of you and says, "Well, I'm happy that you've defeated the death curse. I'm still judging all of you. Miss Porter, forgive me. I know your family has a high station in the Lord's Alliance, but I do recommend you speak to the Guild of Magisters and Protectors if you have any plans to ply your magical trades in the city. It should help you avoid any unfortunate repercussions. They take it very seriously. I'll also extend an offer to you to come visit the Blackstaff Academy. We could also get you on the books there so that you could be officially recognized in your arcane talent here in the city. Beyond that, if any of you find yourselves wanting to help get your hands dirty a bit in the defense of this city, more than happy to have you come to the Blackstaff Tower and we can discuss what options and opportunities there may be for you to help me keep this city safe. And it's kind of striking how blunt and direct she is and almost unwizard-like as she says all of this. She's very guarded and seems very distrustful. Not necessarily of all of you in particular, but just of people in general. And then she looks to all of you and says, I'm assuming at least some of you know where the Blackstaff Tower is. I think Lolly you'd know,
Yeah.
Gibbles you'd know.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I would know.
Yeah.
Yeah, never
Teresa
mind.
can probably find it asking around.
And I don't mean to be blunt, but I've been told sometimes I'm too blunt or direct, so I apologize if I come off as brusque. I appreciate what you've done. Please come to me if you have any questions, and Miss Porter, I strongly recommend you consider my offer, either of getting some contacts for the guild or coming to my academy. Thank you. And she heads out of the room, not really leaving any time to ask her any questions. And then one of the servants comes and basically asks what you would like to do. Would you like to return to your quarters in the palace? Would you like an escort to your apparent property? What would you like to do?
I should think that we should go check out the property, don't you?
I would like to check out the property.
Okay, Teresa, how are you doing on time? I know it's getting late.
I'm starting to fall asleep here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's just because it's getting late. And
Yeah, no, that's why I'm asking. Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll close it there. So thanks everyone. I know there was a lot of me throwing stuff at you, but I hope that was decent.
No, it's fine. It's fine. This is like session 0 for me.
Yeah. So for next session, my plan is to start out with taking you guys to your new Troll Skull Manor. I think that'll be a chunk of what happens. I know I threw a lot of NPCs and threads at you guys. Does anybody have a burning desire to follow up on a particular thing next week?
I mean, Lolly's definitely going to want to start trying to investigate and asking around and seeing what he can find.
Teresa's going straight for the Blackstaff Academy.
I would like to investigate as well, but I'd also like to first visit. I would like to check out the grandniece or potential grandniece.
Okay, cool. So then
if just for
I'm just so you guys know, there's a bunch of open-ended plot points here, and I'm just gonna ask at the end of each session which one you kind of want, which ones you guys think you're gonna want to go after, so that I know what to prep, because I don't have a set playbook for this back half, this whole thing. So I'm basically gonna, I know what most of the plots are, but I'm gonna ask what you guys want to look at for the next session, just so I know kind of what couple things to prepare, so that I can have, the content there for you. Because I'm remixing, making up, and doing weird stuff with a bunch of different stuff. So cool. So we've got the investigation, we've got the Blackstaff Academy, the property, and the Elodie Marchand plotline. So I will do that. And then for Alex, Joe, I think what I'll probably do, I'll tell her this too, but I think what I'll do is have her probably come to visit you guys at the property at some point.
Okay.
Whether or not Lyokin is there.
Okay.
That way we can roll her into things. Just to make sure we're getting everybody, and I'm sure if Lyokin is able to show up, we can deal with that, because I think he has the least amount of like set hooks for this. He's more of a conduit. So yeah, cool. Well, thank you all. I'm excited. I'm making up way more as we go every session now. So it's a new challenge for me. So I hope it'll be fun.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go pass out. Take care, everybody, and hopefully see you next week.
All right. Good night. See you next week.
Good night, everyone.
All right, good night.